Hi everyone, Ben here from musictheoryacademy.com. In this lesson we're going to have a look at the Picardy Third. We're going to ask the question, what is a Picardy Third? We're going to look at when is it used, and also we're going to look at some examples and the historical context of the Picardy Third. So firstly, what is a Picardy Third? Well, a Picardy Third, otherwise known as a Tierce de Picardie, is simply a major chord that is written as the final chord of a piece that's mostly been in the minor key. So if you have a piece of music that's predominantly written in a minor key and it finishes, the final chord is the major chord instead of the minor chord, then that is called a Picardy Third. So let's have a look how this works. Here's a simple example. I just want you to imagine this is the last two bars of a piece I've written. Okay, so a nice simple final phrase, and we would harmonise that as follows. Okay, the simple putting in the bass line there. Now, the key thing about this is that final chord would have a third that was an E flat. So it would sound like this. So that E flat, that minor third, means that that is a C minor chord. We're playing in C minor and I've finished on C minor. So if I had some other parts in, it's clearly rooted in C minor. Now, if I wanted to write a Picardy Third, I would raise that third, that E flat, to an E natural, and then it would sound very different. Okay, it's quite an extraordinary sound. If I put all the other parts in, okay, so instead of playing that C minor chord with an E flat, I've raised that E flat by a semitone to an E natural, and you get a major third. And that is simply what a Picardy Third is. You're expecting the piece that is in a minor key to finish on the minor chord, the tonic, the root note, but instead it finishes on the root note, but it's a major chord that it finishes on. So let's have a look at a few examples of Picardy Thirds and also the context of it. Now, there's some debate over where the phrase originated. Some people say it's because it's the Picardy region of France. Others say it's the French word Picard, which means sharp, and because you're sharpening the minor third to a major third, that's where it comes from. There's no conclusive proof over who's right on that, but what we do know is that it originated in the Renaissance period and it was common throughout the Baroque period. And it's predominantly used by composers because they wanted to have an uplifting and positive feel to the end of their piece. So they wanted to end on a major chord, which is obviously going to feel quite positive, instead of ending on the minor chord. So let's have a listen to an example from the Baroque period. Here's an example from Bach's Prelude in D minor. If I just play this nice and steadily, you'll hear the Picardy Third at the end. You can hear how Bach's raised that F natural by a semitone to F sharp to give that major chord feel. You think he's going to just play the D minor, then he's going to play this altered A7 chord, and then he's going to go back to the D minor, but he doesn't. He goes back and puts that F sharp to give it that slightly positive feel at the end. The Picardy Third was common throughout the Baroque period and then has tended to be not used very much since then. However, you can find later examples of the use of Picardy Thirds. Here's an example from a Chopin nocturne in F minor. You'll also find an example of a Picardy Third from the finale of Dvorak's New World Symphony. If you're looking for an even more contemporary example, have a listen to And I Love Her by the Beatles, and you'll see them experimenting with a Picardy Third also. So some learning points from this. First of all, we now know what a Picardy third is. We know when it tends to be used, and we've also had a look at some examples and the historical context of that. I really hope that helps with your understanding of the musicality of the Picardy third, and I also hope it inspires you to try some out in some of your composition work.